Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. I hope you spend some time with me today talking to you about helping to protect your identity and avoid being taken in some sort of a scam. As Debbie said, I've been in law enforcement for 41 years. I've worked at the city, county, state, and federal level. Actually, retired U.S. Treasury agent. I was not tired of what I was doing. And about 7 years ago, I took a job with the state of Alabama and continued to work in law enforcement. Throughout my law enforcement career, I've had several opportunities to work in fraud and financial crime areas, particularly in consumer fraud, much what we're going to be talking about today. In the amount of time that we've got here together, what I want to do is tell you about some of the more common scams, and then tell you some things that you may be able to do to protect yourself from being taken by one of those scams. I have those scams broken down into the ways that the bad guys use to contact you. Some by telephone, in-person, face-to-face contact, online scams. I did not include a section here about scams that are being conducted through the mail, only in the interest of time. So don't ever believe that everything that you get in the mail is real. Mail fraud is certainly alive as well. One of the more common misconceptions is that with technology, all crime has changed. So people believe that, well, once upon a time, if someone is going to cheat you out of your money, they would need to contact you face to face. And then after a while, they can reach out and touch you without ever contacting you personally, maybe through the mail. So nobody would actually cheat somebody face to face anymore. Or with the advent of the telephone, all the bad guys started using the telephone. They called you up, try to cheat you out of your money over the telephone. Therefore, nobody uses the mail to cheat people anymore. And then with the advent of online services, email, websites, those kinds of things, that all crime has gone high tech. Nothing could be farther from the truth, because as soon as you believe that, you're going to get an influx of mail, you're going to get an influx of telephone calls, all of which are going to be scams, because people have that very, very common misconception. And after we talk about those different kinds of scams, we'll spend some of the remaining time together talking about identity theft, which kind of encompasses a lot of different things. Certainly the list of scams we're going to be talking about today are not all encompassing. There are any number of scams out there we'll never get to. So this is just a representative sample. Certainly the things you can do to protect yourself is not all encompassing. It's just a representative sample. Some of the more common things you can do. One of the things I hope you will see is a recurring theme on the way that the bad guy reaches out to the victim and cheats them out of their money. So you're going to see some commonality among the schemes. You'll also see some commonality among the things that you can do to protect yourself. So I want you to kind of pick up on that. Even if you didn't know anything more about protecting yourself and the things we cover today, hopefully you'll be a little bit better off than you were when you got here. What I want to do is talk about breaking these down into the different categories. First one I want to talk about is telephone-based scams. Probably the most simplistic definition of a fraud is that somebody told a lie, someone else relied on that information as though it was true, and then either lost money, property, or rights, or at least put in a position where they could have. When we talk about telephone fraud and telephone scams, what we're saying here is that the primary means of communication would have been by way of the telephone. It is not the only means, because most telephone scams will include some other means of communication, possibly something that you would receive in the mail, something you'd be required to send in the mail, wire transfers, and those kinds of things. But here, in the legal sense, we would call the telephone the instrumentality of the crime. It is the tool that is used by the bad guys to reach out and see if they can get to your money. Now we have what I would call the major types of telephone scams. The first one we'll talk about is telemarketing fraud. Telemarketing fraud is going to be based on the premise of a positive reward. That you're either going to profit from something, having bought something that you're profiting from, or that you're going to win something, possibly from the sale of goods or opportunities. Is where you're going to have the opportunity to profit. The sweepstakes or lotteries, that possibly you're going to win something. And these are not going to be mutually exclusive necessarily, because a lot of times what will happen is you'll get a telephone call from somebody in, say, Las Vegas. They want to sell you some hair care products or some vitamins. And as a result, they will tell you, if you buy these things from us, you will be enrolled in some sort of sweepstakes or a promotion contest, and certainly then you will buy them, and then don't think that's what you've heard of, because after you've made one purchase from them, they'll call you back and call you back and call you back. And they will tell you the more stuff you buy, the higher you have moved in the promotion contest, the greater the likelihood of winning something. So a lot of times, even the ones that are based on a positive reward, that are telemarketing fraud, a lot of times there's something that you have to buy, but in every sense, you're going to be asked to send money for whatever it is. And then, even if the call may actually come to you telling you you actually won the sweepstakes, or you won the lottery, and the money is for some sort of shipping, handling, or in many cases, the prepayment of taxes on the prize won. Nobody's certainly going to be immune to these. These kind of calls could come to anybody here. As a matter of fact, not too long ago, my own mother, I received telephone calls from someone claiming that she had won a prize from a contest she never entered. I don't know why she didn't pick up on that. Before it was over with, she was told she was to win $1.8 million and that she had to prepay a certain amount of money. Well, every time they called, it was another amount of money. And they would call back, something else happened, it was another amount of money. And before it was all said and done, my mother sent $28,210 of my parents' life savings to these people. And one of the things, you may hear me talking about, there are hotbeds for this kind of stuff. And so there are certain groups, either by country, ethnicity, that specialize in certain kinds of fraud. And so this one would be one of the Caribbean-based schemes. I'm 99.9% sure that this was one of the Jamaican schemes. That's the most common right now. For such a long time, about 80% of the telephone fraud coming into the United States from abroad was coming into Canada. Now the Caribbean has kind of surpassed them in terms of where the calls originated from. Because I have worked these kind of cases quite a bit over the years, and have gone around speaking both to law enforcement groups and people like yourselves on these matters, the first question I asked my mother was, "It didn't cross your mind to call me?" But it was too late by that time, and I wish she had been taken. I may refer back to some other teaching points from that as we go along. Another one is going to be telephone solicitation. This is going to be somebody calling you claiming to be some sort of charity or other worthy cause. And this is going to be based on altruism, the greater good. They're going to appeal to you to send money for some worthy cause or charity. One situation will be that they will claim to represent a real charity. They do not. If I called you and told you to send me money, that I'm representing the American Red Cross, that's a lie. They will never get the money. The other one would be that I could make up a name of something that sounds good, sounds charitable, sounds like it's real. And charity itself never actually existed, and so nobody is going to get anything good from that. One of the more prevalent now is what I call telephone extortion. This one's going to be based on negative rewards or the avoidance of something bad that's going to happen to you. So now, very, very common is that you would receive a telephone call. It would claim to be from a power company. They may even know which power company you get your electricity from. You might get your electricity from Alabama Power. You may get your electricity from one of the electric cooperatives that even operate here in the Birmingham metropolitan area. They may know which one it is, claim to represent them, tell you that your power bill is late to the point that it's going to be turned off this afternoon, and there'll be this overwhelming, by the way, the recurring thing here, overwhelming sense of urgency. Doesn't matter which scam it is, there'll be an overwhelming sense of urgency. The other thing is they will tell you the method of payment that you must use. And they will tell you to go to Walmart or to CVS and get green dot cards, and you must pay your light bill by way of green dot cards, these prepaid credit card, stored value card type things that are very prevalent today. So if somebody tells you the method of payment you must use, there's an overwhelming sense of urgency, and then something bad is about to happen if you don't do it, like your power is going to be turned off this afternoon, that's a clue. And they do that with other utilities as well, claiming to be the water company and others. Another would be that you'll be threatened with being arrested or deported. If somebody calls you up and says they're from the Drug Enforcement Administration and they're on the way to your house with an arrest and search warrant because of something that you have done, and the only way you can avoid having this search warrant executed on your home and you being arrested when they get there is that you must prepay some amount of money, so it'll be an overwhelming sense of urgency. And they will tell you the method of payment you must use, and you've got to go and do that. Otherwise, you're going to be arrested. The one thing I know from my 41 years of law enforcement is there will never be a time that somebody is going to call you up front to tell you they're on the way to your house with the resident search warrant. It's not done that way. So that's going to be the biggest clue that these people are not reading. They may have done a certain amount of research. They may tell you that they're from the Drug Enforcement Administration in Atlanta, and they will give you the name of the head of the DEA office in Atlanta, where they got it off the website. They'll tell you that that's who they are. To me, one of the biggest indicators is that they'll get the terminology wrong. So one of the things, if they ever say they're from the Drug Enforcement Agency, and I know for a fact it's administration, not agency, that's a clue. If they tell me their name is Sergeant John Doe with the Drug Enforcement Administration, I know that's not true either, because that's not the terminology they would use. Possibly for a task force officer, never for a DEA agent. So there are kind of indicators there on this telephone extortion. Another variation is going to be customer service. They're going to call using social engineering and tell you maybe that their tech support from your internet service provider or some other entity that they need to, somehow you need to give them control of your computer so that they can fix something for you, or that you need to have some sort of software installed to protect your computer, and again, try to talk you into giving them access to your computer. And certainly, at which point they will have control of your computer, they may actually be able to know or change your password at that point, or actually make payments or receive payments from you because of the services that you didn't set out to get, but they have now called you. Some of these are more prevalent when they're targeting residences, sometimes more for businesses. The sweepstakes and lottery calls are almost always going to come to your house. You're going to get those there. The charity calls and worthy calls, also these calls are going to come to the house. The extortion can go either way. The loss of services, arrest and deportation, you're going to get a lot of those at your home. And then another one that is very common for the home, particularly among older citizens, is the family member in distress. If you get a phone call and it starts out, Grandma, and you go, is this you, Timmy? And the guy goes, yeah, okay. He didn't know who your grandson was. And they said, okay, I went to Cancun on spring break. I'm now in a Mexican jail. They won't let me out until I get so much money. Don't tell Mom and Dad. Okay, those are big clues. Okay, so somebody calling you claims to be your grandchild and claims to be seriously injured in some way, or in jail, particularly in a foreign country, don't send money. And the other big giveaway is you can't tell anybody. Like if the person says, don't tell Mom or Dad, again, that's going to be a big clue. If you know things that only your grandson or your granddaughter would know, engage them in that conversation, and right away you pick up on, that's not TV. So, make sure you don't fall for those kind of things. Members in distress are a real big one coming to people's home. In the commercial venues, the extortion is a big deal there. Talking to my friends, an investigator from Alabama Power said they tend to contact like restaurants right before the lunch rush. They call them at like 11 o'clock, so they're going to cut their power off at 1. They got the lunch rush on their minds, and now they've got to go send somebody to get the green dot card to pay like it. The restaurants can be shut down. They particularly target ethnic restaurants, people that may actually have people there from other countries. The same thing will be true about calling that somebody's going to be reported. And then, of course, deceptive sales pitches come in there too. Somebody claiming to be who is an alternate vendor, calling you up, claiming to be your regular vendor, and it's time for you to reorder your copier toner. Selling you something from a vendor that is not the one you normally do business with, and even if they are legitimate. Another thing that I did not specifically put on the slide, if you are ever staying in a hotel and it's 3 o'clock in the morning and the telephone rings and the person says this is so-and-so at the front desk, there's been a problem with your credit card. Please come to the front desk right now. Keep in mind it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Come to the front desk right now so we can re-swipe your card and take care of that. Now, you're not really inclined to do that, but then they will offer the alternative. Well, if you just give me your credit card information on the phone, then I can take care of that. You will not have to come down here right now. And you thinking that's the better alternative than going down to the front desk at 3 o'clock in the morning might do that. Talking about where these calls are coming from, about 99% of these are actually coming from your prisons. These are people who have illegally gotten access to telephones, cell phones and the like, and they're calling hotels all over the country telling the front desk, ring room 302. You just happen to be staying in room 302 early wee hours that morning, and you're the one who's going to get called. Most all of those calls. Thousands of them are originating from Alabama prisons right now. There's huge investigations going on and efforts underway to stop that. But if you travel and get a call in the middle of the night at a hotel, that's another dead giveaway. But ways to detect, again, an overwhelming sense of urgency. There will also be an overwhelming sense of secrecy. No matter which pitch it is, you can't tell anybody. If it's a prize that you've won, if anybody finds out before we made the award, you'll not get the prize. So my mother was told, you don't get the $1.8 billion if anybody finds out. You can't tell your family. You can't tell anybody. They will also want money. They will tell you how they want the money to be transmitted. So they will tell her, if you go to CVS, you can only put $500 at a time on a green dot card. However, if you go to Walmart, you can put $1,000 on there. Because she couldn't tell anybody, and lives in a small town, people there at those businesses, and even at Walmart, where they maybe didn't know her personally, she felt funny doing that. So what happens as the victim? My mother travels to nearby counties to go to their Walmarts where people don't know her, so she will feel less awkward on a series of the green dot card. Folks, if it ever starts, it will never stop. If they start calling you, you're going to get a series of calls where the scam is going to be variations of the same scam, and then you'll start getting multiple scams, and then each one of those will go through all the variations of that scam, why they need more money, why they need more money, why they need more money. And then at some point, all the bad guys will exchange names, and you'll start getting calls from the other bad guys, and then there will always be a point at which the phone calls will come from somebody, we call it the recovery room angle, someone claiming to be law enforcement or claiming to be an attorney is going to get you your money back and see that it's something that justice is served. But in every case, if the law enforcement calls you and tells you we're investigating these people, but you still have to pay the taxes on it, send the money, that's going to be a clue. If they call you and they say, I'm an attorney representing a class action lawsuit on telemarketing fraud victims, and want you to send legal fees that day, like send $600, like right this minute, wire transfer or some union, that's going to be an indicator. Prevention. Don't conduct business with anybody that you didn't initiate the contact. If you don't leave anything with anything but that here today, leave with that notion. If you didn't start this, now, I didn't say you always had to be the first one to initiate the phone call. For example, some of you have dealt with some very reputable people here today, and you contacted them, and maybe they want to follow up with something you have asked for. You may get contacted by some of the people represented here at these booths today because of something that you wanted done. You asked them to reach out to you with some follow-up information. So the main thing is you still initiate. They maybe not make that phone call, but at least listen to make sure that it's something that you started. And if you need something done, you make sure that you're the one that reaches out to whoever it is. If you don't like what's going on the phone call, hang up. If you want to say, I'm not interested, now even a legitimate telemarketer has got some comeback to that, and they're going to try to keep you on the phone until you buy something or send money. Just hang up. If you never get taken the first time, you've got a good chance of never being taken after that. If you're ever taken the first time, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. Don't give personal information, identifying information. If you have a cell phone, never give the cell phone number to the bad guy. For a couple of reasons. One, they now have an alternate means to kind of contact you. If you try to avoid them on the house phone, they'll start calling you on the cell phone. The other thing is, a lot of times they will try to instruct you to do something, and they will now want you to stay on the line with them, an open line. Yep, and even from Jamaica, they will have you stay on the line, drive yourself to the bank, check out the money that you're going to send to them, and they want you to be on with an open line on your cell phone the entire time at the bank, in the store, so that they will know that it's going to suit them. The other thing is, one of the biggest trends now is the bad guys will commandeer your telephone account, both your landline and your cell phone. They will call your cell phone provider, claiming to be you, password your account, so you can't make any changes on your own telephone, home or cell phone account. You try to, change. One of the things I'm going to tell you is, if you ever start getting these things, the only way to break the cycle is get a new telephone number, get an unlisted phone number. Well, don't be surprised you call a phone company and you can't even change your own telephone number because the bad guy is now password protected your telephone account. Next one is face-to-face scams. We've got 2 or 3 of these. We'll go through very quickly. The first is going to be home improvement scams. These are where someone most likely is going to come to your home, and these are going to be unsolicited. There's nothing going on in your neighborhood. There's not been a disaster. These people just show up, and you're going to see, there'll be some indicators here. I just happen to be in the neighborhood. I've got materials left over from another job. They will talk about needing cash up front, or maybe they'll say, I need half the money up front, whatever the case may be, but either way, they're going to want money right now. Got a special offer, just good today. They'll help you finance the project. You don't have all the money right now, but again, they're going to want some amount of money right now. They may even talk about wanting to use your home as some sort of model. Some of the more common scams, driveway sealing. Now, I understand that asphalt deteriorates in some ways, and if it gets cracks in it and a lot of breaks up, that's not a good thing. You may have asphalt on your driveway, and probably there is such a thing as a driveway sealant, and legitimate people will do that. But this is one of the more common scams. If you're familiar with the difference between paint and whitewash, whitewash makes it appear better. The paint actually has a protective feature to it. Same kind of thing with driveway sealant. If somebody shows up, I can take a little bit of tar and mix it with diesel fuel, spray it on your driveway. It's going to look real good now. That's sort of the black version of whitewash. I didn't do anything to protect your driveway. Another thing is with home improvement scams, particularly with the driveway thing, talking about places and people that are involved in this. If somebody shows up at your house, one of the things you really want to find out early on is where they're from. And if you look at any signage on their vehicle, or you can see the license plate on that vehicle, and that car, that pickup truck, is from Arkansas or South Carolina, don't give them any money. Call the police. That's just where there's like, kind of like a different variation, like gypsies, so to speak. They will travel around, and I'm serious. If they show up at your house from South Carolina or Arkansas tags, whatever they're selling is not real. You can discount them. Other sorts of repairs, such as chimneys and roofing, air conditioning, duct cleaning, that kind of thing. Okay, prevention. Once again, if you didn't initiate this contact, don't do business with them. If they came to your door, do not do business with them. Never give them any money in advance. Don't let them in your house. A lot of criminals are diversified. But one thing does not, they may come there to take your money to put fake sealing on your driveway or to begin a job they never intended to finish. And it all may have been a scam to start with. But because criminals will diversify, you let them in your house, you're going to have checks missing, you're going to have mail missing, other identifying things missing. And so even though we're not yet talking about identity theft, things go along with that, this one criminal is going to be help himself to other things in your house. Don't let them in the house. If they become too pushy or fail to leave, call the police. Now, if you believe that there's some sort of scam, you may want to call the police anyway. Right now, I'm kind of talking about this from a safety issue. Again, if they refuse to leave and they get pushy about this thing that they're going to do for you, call the police immediately. And if you think there's any question of whether they may be legitimate, call people like the Better Business Bureau. If they claim to be local, call the Better Business Bureau and see if there have been complaints filed against them. If you want these things done in your home, you need to be the one that reaches out to the company or the vendor that you want to do that for you. Another one is commonly referred to as the bank examiner scheme. Sometimes they will actually call themselves bank examiners, and other times they will claim to be other sorts of law enforcement. Some of the more recent ones here in the Birmingham area claim to be Jefferson County Sheriff's deputies doing exactly the same thing. I was a U.S. Treasury agent. We worked cases where people would impersonate IRS employees. And this is one of the more common ones, where they would claim to be IRS employees and actually doing these things. You may get approached. Not so likely that you're going to be approached at home, but even if you are, probably somebody followed you home. Maybe these are the kind of things where you may be approached coming out of your bank or be in some sort of a commercial district. They're going to tell you that they're investigating some bank employee at your financial institution that's been stealing money, and you need to help them investigate that. And the way and of course they're going to appeal to your civic sense of duty, get you to go in there. But you can't tell anybody. You can't tell anybody else in the bank, but we ain't sure how many of them are involved. And so they'll send you in. You have to go in and withdraw your money is evidence in this scheme. And then you're going to come back out and give it to whomever this person is. So they may want to drive you to and from your financial institution. They may want to follow you to and from your financial institution. If they ask for your cell phone number, red flag. Right? They want you to stay on the phone with them the entire time you're inside. Red flag. These are not real. Okay. Don't go to the financial institution and give your funds to anybody claiming to be any kind of official, because real people don't do that. Don't accompany them anywhere. Don't ever get in the car with any of these people. Don't let them follow you anywhere. Don't let them in your house. And once again, if you're at least a bit concerned about your safety, you want to make sure you call the police if they become pushy or fail to leave. Now, because it's probably a scam in the first place, the first chance you get, you want to call the police under every circumstance like this, but just make sure that you are safe. If they get pushy in the least, call the police. I can tell you right now that because I am the real police, I want you to do that. Because they can help let you know that I'm either for real or I am not for real. And if I'm not for real, I'm not likely to stick around when they get there. Another one would be pigeon drops. Once again, you're going to be approached somewhere, possibly in a public place, maybe coming out of a shopping center environment. Some stranger is going to approach you and claim that they have found a large sum of money, maybe $100,000 or well in excess of $100,000. It is also common that a second stranger will come up and they will pretend they don't know one another. They found this large sum of money, and they will engage you in conversation. Now, they're going to be talking as though they don't know one another in your presence about what's going to happen. They're going to pretend to be ignorant about this whole kind of thing about finding money, but one of them at least is going to say, well, my boss will know what to do. And they'll get on the phone, call the boss, and it's going to be relayed to you that he's going to see if he can find out who the money belongs to. And, there's some chance that they can't find that, or some other circumstances, you may actually be able, the three of you, to split this money. But somewhere in this story, you got to put up your own money. And they'll say there's like good faith money. We're going to split this, say, $100,000. Each of us will then put up $10,000. So once again, you're going to be sent to your bank, come up with $10,000, come back, and then everybody's going to put up their money as good faith, so that when this thing ends, then you're going to be able to share in the larger amount of money. Now, you think you're going to get your money back plus your share of the other. So because this is only temporary, they'll do things like liquidate your account, cash out CDs, get a home equity loan, whatever you got to do to get the $10,000. I've got a good friend that's a police officer fell for this. So it can happen to anybody. And he lost about, I think, $11,000. And again, was a career police officer, still working at the time this happened. So a lot of times they'll claim that the money is from ill-gotten gain. This so-called boss has determined it was drug money. So now you don't feel like somebody's out the money, and you're perfectly willing to take a third because nobody really needs it back. Don't conduct business you didn't initiate. Don't pay any money in advance. And call the police. Again, if you're approachable, you want to call the police at some point anyway, but again, these people start getting pushy and fail to leave, make sure you call the police. Because what's going to happen, the end result is there's going to be some sleight of hand. The package you thought was your original money, or the package that you believe is your share of the bigger money, is going to contain scrap paper. Even if they show you real money, well, magic trick's going to happen there. You will never get real money. You will be left holding the scrap paper. Another kind is going to be the email. This is the first of the online section. Phishing is where somebody will send you an email that purports to be from a legitimate company, legitimate government agency, probably your own financial institution. If you get one that's from your bank, you go, oh, it must be real because it's my bank. If you get one from a bank that's not yours, you're going, why did they send me that? Because I have a bank there. It's a shotgun approach. They don't know where you bank, but they're hoping they'll send you enough that you'll actually do something. You can click on something on the website or in the email that will take you to a website, or will otherwise infect your computer. Some are going to be advanced fee fraud. Some sort of they will say they need you to engage in some sort of business endeavor with them. They're from another country. They need to use your bank account to collect money owed them in the United States, and you get a percentage of it. Or that you're the long-lost heir of some African prince. He has passed, and now they're trying to get the money. Sweetheart scams. Even nowadays, particularly with online relationships, they kind of coined the term catfishing. Well, that means that somebody is maybe not as tall or as handsome or as good looking as they claim to be, or maybe as well off. But now taking this to an extreme, you got the bad guys that will claim to be, it might be some ugly guy claiming to be a female that is now engaged in conversation online with some lonely man, and he thinks they've struck up a relationship. This week, I heard of a case where a man has struck up an online relationship. She claims to have been arrested in London. Someone claiming to be her father reaches out to this man, says, we've got to come up with like $300,000. I'll get the money together, but I need you to get it to him. So he then sends enough counterfeit checks and so forth, deposited in this man's account, so that they catch it before the bank realizes the checks are counterfeit, wire transfers the money to London. About $300,000 now he's held accountable for. And then the last one on that list is just malware. They're going to infect your computer with something, some sort of bad software. A lot of times these are going to be keyloggers that capture every keystroke that you make, or a variation of that would be like a password sniffer, where it's looking for your actual password. And if you ever deal with your bank after that software has infected your computer, they will be able to pretend to be you from that day forward. They can get into every account that you use, or use every password that you have used to get into any account with any sort of business or financial institution. Once again, don't conduct business with anything you didn't initiate. Don't pay anything in advance, otherwise send money. Don't give out personal information. And don't click on the link. Even if you get an email from someone that you know well, and that's their email address, and there's very little there, but there's a link. Whoever sent you that wants you to click on the link. Folks, this week alone, I have gotten over 5 emails from myself from my law enforcement state email account. So somebody's contact list somewhere was compromised so that the bad guys are sending them things out, spoofing the email as though it's coming from me. But then I'm on the list of the people who's actually getting it. I know I didn't send it. So even if you think that you know who that person is, be very, very careful, very mindful of that. Don't click on the link in the software because it may actually infect your computer. In addition to email, you may have internet sites and websites. Common scams that the entity itself does not exist. Fake business, fake charity, fake investment opportunity. Another one is someone claiming to be some legitimate business, maybe actually being a legitimate business. You buy something from them. This is fairly common, like an online auction type scams. You pay for something and they don't deliver the goods. So if they intended to cheat you from the get-go, just be mindful of that. Once again, only conduct business with trusted sites. People you think you're pretty sure that you know who you're dealing with. Check out these entities before you send any money, and certainly give them any information. If it's an online site that requires some sort of a payment, look in the address and make sure that at least it says in the beginning of that email address, where they all start as HTTP, Private Text Transfer Protocol. If it's just that, HTTP, and it's asking you to send money, don't do it because that's not a secure connection between you and that entity, real or otherwise. If it says HTTPS, it's supposed to add that extra layer of security so that the transmission is encrypted between you and, say, that financial institution, and it cuts out what's called middleman fraud, where somebody is monitoring what's going on between you, pretending to be you to that institution, or finding out what you're actually communicating to and from that institution. So that's one of the things you want to make sure that you do. Make sure it's secure before you give them any credit card stuff. And then lastly, we'll talk about identity theft in the last few minutes remaining. This is going to be the wrongful taking of the identifying information, or in some cases, identifying documents. If I steal your social security card or I steal your driver's license, go ahead and use that, then certainly that's another variation of identity theft. People do that for any number of reasons. One of the reasons is going to be for their own financial gain, but we also have to be mindful in all matters of crime these days that the money may actually be used by subversive groups raising money for terrorist operations abroad. So that's also true in the area of identity theft. How do the bad guys get your information? Well, they might steal your purse or your wallet. They might do that from your car. They might do that from a shopping cart in a store. So be very, very careful when you're shopping that you're always in control of your purse. If you're in a gym, those are common places where they break into lockers while you're working out, or any sort of workplace. If you have an office or workplace, and you get up and walk away from your cubicle or your workstation, make sure that your purse and wallet might otherwise be secure. They might steal your mail, maybe from your mailbox at your home, incoming or outgoing, or while it's in transit, you have no control over that. Or they may actually come inside your home. And this could be, of course, people that you know. Everybody talked about letting other people in your home. They may actually steal your mail in that environment. They may actually change your address. They go down to the post office, change all your address on your mail so that the post office, your postal service will begin delivering your mail to the bad guy's address. Now, once I get all of your mail, I can open each one of your pieces of mail and build a dossier on everybody in this room if I have all your mail coming to me. Okay, so I know everything there is about you, so that's one of the ways they get it. Dumpster diving, rummaging through the trash. Be careful about what you throw out that's got any kind of identifying information on it. Talk more about what to do about that in just a moment. They may call somewhere, posing to be someone entitled to the information. They may pose as your landlord. They may pose as your employer. Or they may pose as some sort of government official. And then the last one on this list is they may get the information from some business or personal record at work. And when I say at work, I'm talking about at the bad guy's work, not your work necessarily. So now there is absolutely nothing that any of us can do to be totally safe from identity theft. You can control the things you can't control. We talk about shredding and not giving out information. Those are the things you can control. The reason you will never be totally safe is that we all have to rely on government agencies, healthcare providers, insurance companies, financial institutions that have everything there is to know about us. If one of their people goes bad, we're just had. And so I've done that a lot. In the work that I specialize in now, I investigate criminal justice practitioners, police officers, judges, court clerks, prosecutors, and some of my cases actually involve identity theft, where people are breaking into the system to control law enforcement systems to steal your identifying information. And so we prosecute those. Wherever that person works, if they're your payroll clerk, if they are in the HR department, it's a place where you work, those kind of things can happen. So again, the individual may steal the information from the place where they work. They may find it in your home. There's stuff about you on the internet. Buying it from inside sources. How many here have ever test-driven a car at a dealership and before you drove off, the dealership wanted to take a Xerox copy of your driver's license? I had a case down in Dawson where there was a Nigerian that ran a tax preparation service. I've had some concerns about that anyway. But what he would do was he would go around and have inside contacts in all the car dealerships and buy those copies. And then he would file fake tax returns in the names of the people who had test-driven cars at places for people who had never darkened the doorway of his tax preparation service. Public records. How many veterans in the room were told it was a good idea for you to go down to the probate court with your DD-214 and have it recorded? Like that's a good idea. Did you ever do that? That's what the Army told me to do. So like a good soldier, guess what I did? Well, you know, once upon a time, the government decided to use your Social Security number as your service number, right? Some of you remember when that change happened. So therefore, my Social Security number would be on documents down at the local courthouse. If I wanted to go into any courthouse and data mine DD-214s that got reported, I could find identifying information on any number of veterans. Bogus mailings, thing that comes to your house, and the phishing we talked about is the email version of the same thing. Some of the preventative measures. Don't throw away papers with any kind of information on you. That's got any kind of identifying information. Shred it, shred it, shred it. Buy a shredder, tear it up in little bitty pieces. One of the things my wife does, because she don't want to overload her shredder, and I think it works just fine, I'll go into my kitchen sink, look, and she will take lots of documents and put in the kitchen sink and run water on a stack of papers to the point that when they get totally saturated, they'll completely stick together. And after they soak for a few hours, she'll roll it up into a big ball. You can't read anything on any of that. So if you ain't got a shredder, there's an idea. That's what my wife does. And I promise you won't be able to find any identifying information on little things about my house once you get covered. Don't give out any information about yourself. And then check your credit report regularly. If you see the commercial on television about that pirate guy, and it says, as you check your credit report, okay, he's representing a thing called freecreditreport.com. Don't use that. The one that the government arranged for you to be able to get free credit reports of your own is called annualcreditreport.com. And every one of the major credit bureaus will let you have a free copy of your full credit report every year. Now, you can ask them for more. Some people advocate do one this quarter, one next quarter, one the next quarter because that gives you some more added protection. If you did them all three at the same time, but at least did it not less often than every year, look for accounts that you never dealt with that business, or street addresses you've never had. And if you see those things, you could get back with the credit bureau and ask them where that information came from, because it could be that someone has compromised your account. They may have a credit card in your name that you're not even aware of, and the mailing address there is that of the bad guy who they sent the credit card and those credit card statements to. Last thing I want to share with you is I was given a list of things, kind of common recurring questions and concerns, and some of them I may not have been able to address in the presentation up to this point. One has to do with, is there a way to keep somebody stealing your credit card number? We talked about the secure HTTPS thing. That's one of the ways. Don't give it out over the telephone. That's certainly another way. Is there a credit card that's better than others? Most of the financial institutions now are replacing your traditional card with ones that has a microchip in it. This week alone, one of the banks I do business with has replaced mine. Now that the bank knows that I have activated the one with the chip in it, if I should go to any retail establishment and try to use a card, or anyone tried to use a card that doesn't, and that retailer has the version that checks for the microchip, the financial institution will say, well, you can't take that card because the only card that's active on that account's got to have a microchip. And so that may actually say, if I stole your identity, went out and created a blank plastic and loaded that information on your card, a card claiming to be you, trying to use it, if your bank has upgraded your card to the one with the microchip in it, that could be a protection. Be careful about what you take with you. Don't take any more credit cards or debit cards than you absolutely need. Don't take your Social Security card around with you. If you can keep from taking your Social Security number, even written on anything, with you, try not to do that either. Telemarketers, if you didn't initiate the call, don't do business with them. Somebody calls and asks for information, don't give it to them. No personal identifying information. Make sure you do check your own credit report at least every year, because you will find if somebody's actually using your name and other information. Be careful about putting information into your computer. Don't store your passwords for everything in your computer. If somebody actually compromises your computer, that could be a problem. Another thing now is very common is what's called ransomware, where your computer will become infected. They will control your computer. You get a message saying your computer's been locked down. You have to pay $300 for something like your computer. If you've got important files on that computer, you're not going to be able to get to them while that is in place. So a lot of security professionals will recommend using like a separate storage device, which you can plug in. So if you've got a separate hard drive, keep all your stuff on the hard drive. That way, if your computer gets locked down by some bad guy, at least they don't have your information. They have not controlled your information or deprived you from getting your information. And then, what about antivirus software for your computer? The goal is to have it. Having any antivirus protection is the most important thing. Not that one is better than the other. We can talk about that in the next 45 minutes. The main thing is to have it. It's worth something. It will protect you from any number of viruses, no matter which one it is. Just make sure that you have antivirus protection on your computer.
Thank you very much.